Hello, it's Father Jonathan coming to you again on this Monday as we enter into another week here. And I'd like if I could to just take this Monday's reflection and talk a little bit about maybe what it means to become more and more human, which is an interesting thing to talk about because so often I think we have this false notion of the spiritual life that in order to be a more spiritual person, in order to be a better Christian, in order to enter more deeply into prayer and into the spiritual life, we have to somehow divorce ourselves from our humanity. And nothing could be less than true. As a matter of fact, this is what the incarnation is all about Jesus entering, as I've said before, into the depths of our humanity, becoming fully human so that he can meet us where we are. And to add to this argument, John Paul II, when he wrote Pastoris Daba Vobis, the apostolic exhortation on the formation of priests, of the four pillars of formation that was later adopted by the United States bishops, human, spiritual, intellectual, and pastoral, it's not coincidental that human was the first of the four pillars of formation, because to John Paul II and to the church, for the priest, that's the most important part. Human formation is essential to who we are, and the same thing could go with all of us, that the more human we become, the more we embrace our own humanity, the more we encounter this God and this Jesus Christ. Now, how do we do that, or maybe should I say, what does it look like? Well, there's plenty of books out there, and I'm sure you could go out and find many spiritual writers, but I'd like to simply suggest that it's about becoming real. And it's about letting yourself being loved to the point where all the rough edges slowly are worn off, love to the point where you're completely exposed and vulnerable, living the life, as Henry Nouwen would say, of the beloved. And Martin Laird, who I've been reading lately, who is a spiritual writer, points out the book, believe it or not, The Velveteen Rabbit. And he talks about the author, Marjorie Williams Bianco, and how she describes this process of the rabbit becoming real. And there's a lot of people who've used this, including my mentor, so I'm stealing this idea from multiple people, but I think it's worth listening to. Now listen to what the author is saying as this rabbit in this child's playpen is trying to discern what it means to be real, and he's talking to the skinned horse. He says, "What is real?" asked the rabbit one day, when they were lying side by side near the nursery fender before Nana came to tidy the room. "Does it mean having things that buzz inside you and a stick-out handle? Real isn't how you are made," said the skin horse. "It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real." "Does it hurt?" asked the rabbit. "Sometimes," said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. "When you are real, you don't mind being hurt." "Does it happen all at once, like being wound up?" he asked, "or bit by bit?" "It doesn't happen all at once," said the skin horse. "You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily, or have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand." And so I would suggest that this is one of the great processes in the life of the Christian and the spiritual life, is this pursuit of becoming authentic, of becoming real. And the only real way I know to do it is to allow ourselves to be loved. And by who? Well, other human beings, of course. But I would say in one way, the child in this story who loves this rabbit into being this stuffed rabbit into being real is in one way the image of God. That if I allow God's love to penetrate me over and over again, if I allow him to break through, to wear off the rough edges, if I allow him to break through the facade and all the falseness that I carry around on a daily basis, if I allow him to love me through my lies, through the masks I put on to the outer world, and if I come completely exposed, he'll eventually wear me down in this most powerful way, and I'll begin to experience the life of the beloved. And here's the good news. Later on in the book it says, once you're real, you can't go back. If we truly open ourselves to the love of God and enter into the life of the beloved, that's something we'll never go back from. We just enter more deeply into that life, into the life of the beloved. So Christianity, I think, and spirituality is very much about becoming real, becoming authentic. And the only way to do that is to let the love of God penetrate so deeply into us that it exposes precisely who we are, exactly how God made us to be, and to find out that that's precisely who God loves. Once we enter into that mystery and receive that love and enter into the life of the beloved, we become real, and there's no turning back. May God's love be with you always, and I hope to see you all very soon.